I think I got it. Hi, Bethany. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, it's on YouTube now.
It's coming on. Yep, it's live. It's live, and there's a bit of a lag, so maybe that was it.
Okay.
So I always have to turn it off, or I really confuse myself. Oh, there we go.
Match today.
Yay! I can. My view never changes because I don't have that big of a place, and my office isn't done. So
Yeah.
I feel like I should build a studio.
Yeah, way too much open right now. It's been an adventure, Bethany.
So we are live,
Okay.
and I don't, and we can't tell who all is watching because they're not logged into Zoom. They're logged in to they're watching the live stream. So I guess we assume that we have an audience.
Okay.
We can mute this and take this call real quick.
Okay. Morning, Lyra.
Good morning, Jill. Good morning, everybody.
How are you today?
I'm very well. The sun is shining. Woo! That's a good thing.
That's an excellent thing.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, relatively warm out today.
Is it? I haven't been outside yet, so thank you.
Upper 30s. It's going to be in like the 40s today. I'll take it.
Me too. Me too.
We are live right now, Lyra, just FYI.
Okie doke. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did see that on something said live now. So.
Okay.
Mhm.
Lyra is awesome.
That's Kevin, huh?
Well, yes, it is. I find it's entertaining. Change up my name sometimes.
Aha. I've got my Get Outside Yourself t-shirt on today. So
Nice. Way to represent the parks.
How are you, Kevin?
Good. How are you?
there he is.
Been a busy week so far.
I believe it is. Yeah. Is everybody back now?
No, we haven't started. So yet Monday was pre-K to 3 on a hybrid model. And then the goal is by March 1st to have pre-K through 12 back in via hybrid, and then, kind of work from there to see how everything looks. So it's been touch and go. Our teachers, as you can imagine, are excited to have in-person instruction. I mean, that's what they want. And
Sure.
but we're also very cautious and, want to be very cautious when it comes to the safety protocols and, everything like that. The last thing we want to do is see any kind of change in things that would cause us to go backwards.
Right.
So, and very excited. We had, at least with our membership within the teachers bargaining unit, we had over 80% opt for the vaccination for the first dose.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So I believe that's a huge, I believe it's a monumental step in doing things the right way. And it's the first step. And then in another week or so, they're scheduled for the second dose, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, I mean, the folks are excited, but anxious at the same time. So.
Right. I've had my first dose and I get my second dose on Saturday. So. Okay. Yeah.
Well, good. I hope everything goes well.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. Okay. Hmm. They're doing a lot of building out here, so if it gets loud, I'll mute myself.
All right, and same here. We've got several meetings going on here at the office, and with the social distancing and whatnot going on, we've got them more spread out than usual. So if things seem to get a little, I mean, I always keep myself muted anyways, just to eliminate the background noise and any opportunity for echoing and things like that. And plus,
Right.
I know when our chairperson, our board president gets on, we want to make sure that his voice comes through loud and clear, so these songs of leadership can be heard.
Songs? Is that
Yeah, songs.
Well, your voice is kind of like like angels singing sometimes, Scott.
Yeah. Good morning, Kevin.
Yes, it is.
Hi, Lara.
Hello, Scott.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm also well, thank you.
Good.
Beautiful day, and winter's over, so that's good.
Don't say that too loudly, okay? You know how we get to 50 and then go plunge to 30 or 20 something. So, yeah.
And let's see, who else is on the screen? Jill, Scott, Bethany. Fritz looks like he's joining. Good morning.
He can see all that. I can't see all that.
Go up to the top right and click gallery view, and then that gray line between between the people and the pictures of the park, try to get your cursor on there and move it to the left, and it'll expand your screen where you can see all the faces, or you can see at least more of the faces.
Okay. View. Okay. Side by side gallery. Oh, mine says side by side gallery. So you guys are all in a row.
There should be the next option down, should be side by side gallery. If you click on that, and then if you move your cursor over like maybe a few inches to the left, you'll see a gray line pop up with like an arrow that goes left and right. And if you click on that, and while you're holding it down, move it to the left, it'll expand your gallery view of all the participants on the call.
Okay. I will try that. Oop. Oh, well. Okay. Well, I'm not sharing a screen. Okay. Okay. What show grid video is that? Oh, view option. Here we go.
Jill, as far as you know, is everyone showing this morning?
Yeah.
Good. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Never better. All good. All good.
Did Fritz get on?
Hi, Lyra.
Yep, Fritz is here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you today?
Well, very well.
Morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Ms. Molly.
Molly.
Hi, Kevin.
Morning.
Well, I think we will get started. It's 8:30, and Lyra, if you were sitting next to me, you'd be elbowing me right now and telling me to get going.
That's correct. I certainly, well, no. Now you can. 8:30 on the nose.
Well, good morning. Welcome to another Zoom park board meeting, February 24th of 2021. And as evidenced by the agenda and all the work that was supplied to us in this board brief, the Park District continues to be a very, very busy, active place with a lot of positive momentum, and I'm excited for the meeting today, and looking forward to learning more about what I've read thus far. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and just do a quick roll call here. Dave Zink, you're present, yes?
I am present.
Hi, Dave. Fritz Byers.
I'm here.
Thank you, Fritz. Lyra Donahue.
Here.
Hi, Lyra. Molly Lukey.
Here.
Good morning. And Kevin Dalton.
Present.
Thanks, Kevin. And Dave Smigelski is also with us.
Yes, I'm here.
Morning, Dave.
Morning.
Morning. As is our custom, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I'm going to stand, so I'm going to be out of the camera a little bit. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, great. We have a consent agenda, and are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Fritz, a second from Lyra. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Excellent. The agenda is adopted. Thank you. And as we have been discussing over the last couple of months, there's been a lot of work that's gone on around a new vision statement for the Park District. I want to thank Fritz Byers. Well, I want to thank everybody, because everybody on the board, and I believe many staff members were part of this process. So Fritz, I want to thank you for taking the time and working with working with the collective wisdom that is on this call and around the Park District to work on a new vision statement. So I'm simply going to turn the meeting over to you, and if you could update us on where that process stands.
I will, and thanks, Scott. And really the thanks go to everybody on the board and across the Park District for their active and very engaged participation in the process. Scott, as you know, my role here was really as just organizer and note taker to try to capture the thoughts of everybody on the board and in the organization. And it was certainly a quixotic decision you made to put me in charge of organizing everything, but I want to thank the rest of you for keeping us all on track. The process, as I think we all know, is I think near the end. It's been a very successful, very collaborative process, and it's been my privilege to be a part of it. I think because of the role and significance and grandeur of the vision statement as our organization thinks about it, with your indulgence, Scott, and that of the other board members and the other members of the organization, I'd like to take just a few minutes to put in context the history of our thinking about the vision statement, what's happened over the last several years since we last adopted our vision statement, and the significance of what I expect the board will do today in adopting a new vision statement. The way our organization thinks about governance, there are two statements that stand sort of at the top of the hierarchy of values and activities that inform everything we do inside the organization and in our connections with everybody in the community. And that's the mission statement and the vision statement. To our way of thinking, a mission statement reflects a fundamental expression of why we exist. And in contrast, the vision statement reflects a collective aspiration, a statement we make to ourselves and to our community about an ideal future state that if we knew we could not fail and that we knew we would succeed in accomplishing it, we would want to accomplish as an organization and as a central member of the community. As we reflected on this, I think we collectively determined that our mission statement, which we adopted about 5 years ago, continues to reflect an appropriate statement of why the organization exists. It has the virtue of very closely tracking the language of Chapter 1545 of the Ohio Revised Code, which is the General Assembly's enactment that defines why we exist, that creates the governmental authority to create park districts such as ours. I'm going to read it just so it frames our discussion of the vision, because these two statements should speak together in harmony to define existence and aspiration. So our current mission statement is: the mission of Metroparks Toledo is to conserve the region's natural resources by creating, developing, improving, protecting, and promoting clean, safe, and natural parks and open spaces for the benefit, enjoyment, education, and general welfare of the public. That's a lot of gerunds to have in one sentence, but each one of them is tied to the statute and also integrally tied to our policies and our programs. So I think I can accurately report to everybody within the organization and to the public that we are collectively, indeed unanimously, satisfied that that mission statement continues to express the central reasons that the Metroparks Toledo exists. Scott, you made the observation in 2 board meetings that because of a combination of circumstances, extremely hard work, support from the community, and probably a little bit of organizational luck, that the Metropark seemed by November of 2020 to have in effect accomplished its existing vision. As you said, it's not every day that a board can look at its vision and say, great job, we've done it. But I think that statement is accurate, and that's what set us on this collective process of defining a new vision. So because we have a number of folks in the organization who are relatively new to our organization, and because of the heightened focus on the Metroparks and its role in the community, we thought it might be a good time to just put in context when we last adopted a vision statement and what the sentiment of the board was at that time. And I particularly want to thank Jill. She and I have had some discussion about this, about how to define the history and present it in this meeting. So I particularly want to thank Jill for her insights about this and her encouragement to place this in context. So thank you, Jill. The current vision statement was adopted by the board on December 21st, 2016. It was unanimously adopted at that time. And the minutes reflect something that I think it's worth just a moment bringing back to mind and bringing forward so that it informs our sense of our past as well as our sense of our future aspirations. The minutes of that meeting reflect that when the vision statement was presented for discussion and adoption by the board, the following discussion occurred. It was said that the concept of the vision statement contains two parts. That vision statement, as we all know, reads, Metroparks Toledo will be known nationally as one of the premier park systems in the country, and it will be recognized as a centerpiece of our region's appeal as a place to live, work, and visit. In discussing that vision statement and ultimately adopting it unanimously, the minutes reflect that it was said that the concept of the revised vision statement contains two parts. First, it looks outward. Metroparks is making a statement to the nation that its park system is as good as or better than any other. Second, the vision statement focuses on the natural aspects of and all of the natural resources within the region. Metroparks continues to make this region a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. The commissioner's goal in the revised vision statement is to marry these two concepts. The board thought then that the vision statement reflected that. And as you've pointed out at least twice in meetings, Scott, and as I think everybody in the organization feels, there's a strong, I think, incontrovertible case to be made that at least at the conceptual and general level, we have accomplished the two aspects of that vision. The recognition we have received in the fall in the Gold Award certainly reflects a national recognition that we are if not the premier park system in the country. And I think all of the accomplishments of the Park District in its activities and in its partnership and in its prominence in the community, coupled with the unparalleled coalition that we gathered around our levy effort in the fall, suggests that we are recognized as a centerpiece of our region's appeal as a place to live, work, and visit. One could certainly point out that in the implementation of that and the widespread connections that we strive to have with our community, that we have more work to do, but at least at the conceptual level, I think it's certainly plausible, and as I say, I think incontrovertible, that we are now recognized locally, regionally, and nationally as a centerpiece of our region's appeal as a place to live, work, and visit. So I want to pause there just to congratulate everybody in the organization for a remarkable period from the adoption of this vision statement in December 2016 to the end of 2020. It was quite a 4-year run of dedication and hard work and accomplishment. And I think the board has regularly conveyed our deep appreciation for all of our people, as well as all of the people with whom we connect in vibrant partnerships that led us to the rare and remarkable accomplishment that we have achieved our vision. So just a moment again to thank everybody who had large and small roles in getting us there. So the accomplishment of that vision calls us as an organization to raise our sights and enough with the self-congratulation. It's time to get back to work and accomplish the next set of aspirations. And as I said, Scott was so gracious to ask me to be sort of the scrivener and to connect with everybody on the board and everybody in a leadership role in our organization. And through those leaders and all of their divisions and all of the people with whom they work, really to connect to the entire organization to make sure that we heard in detail all of the dreams and goals and hopes at the grandest possible level for what we might now accomplish in the aftermath of what we've done so far. So that's how the process was defined. And I think I can truthfully say that it was a very inclusive process. It involved very lengthy discussions among the leaders of the organization, the senior team, and the board. And it was a privilege, really, to hear and try to record accurately all these senses. The only difficulty is that in a statement as short as a vision statement, it's hard to capture all of the energy and drive and commitment that surfaced during these discussions. And that was really my task, just to try to condense the thinking and synthesize all of it into a statement that we could collectively embrace. We had a meeting on this on Monday, and we shared with the senior team and the board the results of this work. And I think the sense that we left that meeting with is that the statement in its current form does reflect a unanimously held set of aspirations and principles that will guide what we do over the next indeterminate period of time. I want to emphasize that the period of time for accomplishing this is indeterminate. Unlike particular strategies or steps that fall out of a strategic plan, which have often timelines and metrics, a vision statement would fail as a reflection of aspiration if it were quantifiable, or if one had the sense that there's a fixed time within which we know we will accomplish this. So this is a future aspiration and set of aspirations of indefinite duration. I'm going to now read the product of everybody's participation in crafting this vision, and then make a few observations about it that are the product of various people's thinking about this and how it should be framed. So the proposed vision statement for the board's adoption is the following. Metroparks Toledo will be, in its culture and community engagements, the beacon for conservation of natural resources, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the activation and promotion of spaces that enhance physical and mental health. The communal pursuit of these aspirations will elevate our region and transform its identity. Before we open this for discussion, as I said, I'd like to make a couple observations. I said earlier that our sense of appropriate governance is there should be a harmonic relationship between the vision and the mission. So I want just for a moment to observe that the operative verb in our mission statement is conserve. And all of those gerunds are in elaboration of our central action, which is to conserve. And it's therefore natural that it flowed unanimously out of every discussion we had during this visioning process, that the first aspiration is conservation. We've focused a good bit on this year on making sure that we continue to honor and elevate the concept of conservation as the central reason we exist. It is the central focus of our mission statement. And I think there was a collective, in fact, a unanimous sense that it should therefore be the first statement of aspiration in our vision statement. So everybody seemed very much to respond well to that harmonic relationship between the mission statement and the vision. A couple other conceptual points that grew out of all the discussions we had are there are two of them. The first is that when we express to ourselves and our community the set of aspirations reflected in the vision statement, we should expressly state that because of our belief in accountability and our belief in fidelity to our principles, that we should apply these aspirations internally to our culture and all we do internally, as well as externally in all of our relationships and interactions with the people we serve. So there's an opening clause, as you heard, that we will be, the Metroparks Toledo will be in its culture and community engagements. And there was a sense unanimous among the people who participated that that's a very important statement. We're making that statement to ourselves and to each other, as well as to our community. Another concept that flowed from our discussion and the sense of organizational possibility that suffused all of the discussions we had was the idea that we should be not only an organization that achieves grand things, but that we should do it in a way that can illustrate the very best practices of how governmental organizations can operate, how they can connect across private and public barriers and serve as really a model for how to advance collective aspirations. So because of its historical resonance related really to the founding of the country, its natural elements, and its aspirational content, it seemed that the word beacon was exactly the right word to capture both accomplishment and modeling. So there was a strong sense in all of the discussions that we wanted to be that in our community, in our region, and in our nation. It's a little grandiose, but I think the sense is that we want to embrace our role as a community leader that seems ever more clearly to be part of the community sentiment about the Metro Parks. We don't want to shy away from our role as a community leader. And I think everyone really believes that not only can we accomplish these aspirations, but we can do that in an inspiring way that counteracts the cynicism about government, that shows governments can operate effectively and efficiently and achieve great things by linking arms with private enterprise, community organizations, and nonprofits. That's the significance of the role beacon, of the word beacon. The three aspirations that are expressed in the vision statement are conservation of natural resources, and I believe I've already expressed enough about that. I want just to reiterate that it is literally the case that in every conversation we had during this process, conservation was at the absolute center of our future thinking, not just as a mission, but as an aspiration that we can always do better and we can model how to conserve natural resources. So it's appropriate that that's the first aspiration. Likewise, the second aspiration, diversity, equity, and inclusion, was unanimously expressed in every conversation we had. It's notable in looking at the three aspirations that the other two, conservation and enhancement of physical and mental health, have qualifiers or other words attached to them. And in contrast, there's a very stark statement of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I want to comment about that. That's not by accident, it's by design. As we talked our way through this, there were adjectives or qualifiers or prepositional phrases that might be attached to that. For instance, we might want to pursue diversity, equity, and inclusion in our partnerships or in our programming. And really the answer to that is yes, and yes, and. So rather than say diversity, equity, inclusion in such and such, the sense was we are going to be a beacon for diversity, equity, and inclusion, period, full stop. There's nothing that we can do, say, or in no way in which we can act that will not be informed by our aspiration to be a beacon for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It will have strategic priority implications. It will have implications for next steps, but it's much grander than that, much more pervasive than that. And that's why there are no words on either side of that aspiration. It is as fundamental to our existence as anything could possibly be. And then finally, the third aspiration acknowledges what we have known, but are ever more deeply realizing, particularly during the last year and all the travails that have come up out of this pandemic, that we have a central role in promoting and enhancing physical and mental health. To some degree, it might sound like a truism, but it's far from that. No one needs to be lectured about physical health and the desirability of exercise. But our role in community, individual and community health is much more fundamental than providing trails where people can walk. So the aspiration that I heard uniformly during the discussions we had was that we want to stand at the center of our community's commitment to enhancing physical and mental health. Many people commented on how often they have heard over the last year the values that people have found in getting, as our statement says, outside themselves into our parks, not just for the physical benefit of that, but for the mental health benefits of that. I think many of us have felt that individually, and we've certainly heard that from our community. It is not the only reason, but it is a significant reason why our visiting has increased so dramatically over the last year. And as I said earlier, our organization's nature is to embrace our role and say, what else can we do? How else can we serve? What more programming, what more connections can we create to deepen our value in the community? There are stigmas around physical and mental health that we want to help quash or eviscerate. We can all embrace anybody who wants help with physical and mental health. Our organization, it was clear to me through these discussions, embraces these concepts. And I think it is indefinite, if not infinite, the number of programs that we can implement and the number of partnerships and organizations with which we can connect in furtherance of this aspiration. Finally, there was a sense that even with those three aspirations expressed in the context of internal and external belief and leadership, that there should be a recognition of the possibilities that will flow from our pursuit and accomplishment of these aspirations. And the final sentence calls that out. It emphasizes in the adjective communal that these accomplishments will be at their apex if it is done as part of our community engagement. We will have an important role, but a collaborative role in pursuing these aspirations through our connections in the communities and our overt partnerships. And as we pursue these aspirations, the natural effect of that will be that it will elevate our region and transform its identity. What we have done in the last 4 years harkens to us the idea that these things can be accomplished and they will be recognized. And many of us have said over the course of the last year, as we built this coalition, that the cumulative effect of what we do will be to eliminate all of the bad nighttime comic jokes about the Rust Belt. And people across the nation will know what we know, which is we live in the best community in the United States. So we all share that aspiration, and that's why the vision statement reads as it does. Again, thank you to all of you who created the idea and energy behind this vision statement. And Scott, thank you for allowing me to have a part in it.
Well, Fritz, thank you. That was just a phenomenal summary of a lot of conversation and interaction with a multitude of people and really sentiment from the board and from the staff. And I'm really thrilled with what the collective wisdom is created here. I would just I'm gonna just go one at a time if it's okay, and just ask each of you, our my fellow commissioners, just if you wouldn't mind commenting or providing any reactions or thoughts that you have. And Lyra, since you're right next to me here in this, if you wouldn't mind weighing in, that'd be great.
Thanks, Scott. First, I really want to thank Fritz for being able to get all of the ideas that have been expressed throughout the agency and throughout the board. I've always called Fritz our wordsmith. And so I am extremely thankful for what he was able to glean together, from everything that was said. I think this vision statement truly does exemplify what we as a board, I'll speak for myself, what I want us to strive for. And I believe that throughout all of the adjectives and everything that's involved, that we are able to do this. And we want our community to know how much we are involved and want to be involved in what is going on. And that, like Fritz says, beacon is what we really want to be, to show what we are totally committed to. And so I'm going to let my other members say something. Thank you.
Thanks, Lara. Molly, please.
Sorry, couldn't find my unmute button. Yeah, Fritz, thank you so much. I mean, I think you very poetically and elegantly talked about the vision for this organization. And obviously, I think over the past year, more so than ever, the Metroparks has been looked at as a place for respite and restoration. And I want that, you know, I think we all want that so badly to be the case for everyone who wants to be able to access it. So again, I think aspirationally, this hits on exactly the things that feel like priorities to me as a person, but also I think us as a board. And I know that it was a super collaborative process. And I know it's no easy task to take lots of different opinions and views, and everyone's coming from their own lived experience and their own sort of, you know, area of what they do for the organization. But I think this sums up this very well. I think it's important that because this organization is able to transform the area in such a way that it not only keeps people here and attracts new people here and attracts, you know, investment here, but also the people who have lived here for generations feel like that they're a part of it, that they're part of this overall shared vision. And so I appreciate all of the work, Fritz, and everyone else's leadership. And I'm excited to support this vision as a board. Thanks.
Thanks, Molly. Kevin.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks to Fritz for taking on this monumental task, and Scott to have the foresight to choose Fritz to do so, and avoiding me. I was kind of like that kid in class where my eyes were always looking down for a task like this. So thank you. You know, my first impression, I was first grade teacher for 15 years, as you know, and my first thought would be, man, if I talked about something like this with my students and my former students, what would they say? And I think I would always have that little Scott Savage in the back corner, probably stand up like, booyah, this is awesome. But in a more serious note, I do have to say that I could not be more excited and more enthused that we have, as an organization, really taken what I've been calling the evolution of the conversation in our community and encompassed it within our vision, in our mission. And while I was not part of the board in 2016 when the previous statement was adopted, I'm happy to take part in the last couple of years and take credit for some of the last stuff that I didn't do, but certainly I'm proud to stand next to. And I could not be more excited and more determined to make this next vision statement come to truth. And with all that being said, there's so much embedded in that statement that was hours and hours of conversation and so well put together. So I look forward to the task, and I hope the rest of us and all of our senior staff are ready to go as well. So thank you again.
Thanks, Kevin. That's well said. And Molly and Lara, thank you for your thoughts. And I had just two quick things for me. I really appreciate the focus both internally and externally, because I think we can agree as a board that while we're the ones every month doing most of the talking, all of the work gets done by the staff, and so therefore a focus, not only an external focus, but that internal focus, I think is going to be critical to achieve such an aspirational vision. But I do remember, Lyra, you and I and Fritz in 2016, and working with Dave and others to put that vision statement out in 2016, and it felt very aspirational at the time. I remember the feeling, and I'm a firm believer in you become what you think about, you become what you put out in the ether, and so just the very process that Fritz has led and culminated in this vision statement and putting it down and putting it out there for everyone to embrace is the act itself will help us get there. So I really believe we will become what we think about in this vision statement, and I'm excited to get going. So I guess from a process standpoint, Fritz, do you want to adopt this, or are you looking for a motion, or how would you like to proceed procedurally?
Well, it's certainly up for the board to decide that, but I think the most meaningful thing that we could do is to formally adopt this statement as the vision of the Metroparks. It's not legally required that we do that, and this would not require, therefore, a resolution. But I think the board, the organization, and the community would be best served by formal action of the board adopting this as the vision for the Metroparks of Toledo.
Okay. Would anybody like to make them? Thank you, Lyra.
I move that we adopt the vision statement for Metroparks Toledo.
Can we get a second? Molly?
Second.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Lyra. Molly, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting the vision statement as presented by Fritz, and we can see on our screen today, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. The ayes have it. It's unanimous, and time to get to work, right, Fritz?
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, great. Thanks. That was really energizing, and really appreciate once again everything that you did, Fritz, to get us to where we are. So thank you again.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. So we'll switch gears here to the treasurer's report. Matt Cleland, I know I see you. There you are. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. Treasurer's report for the month of January. We have not exhausted the budget for 2021 yet, and at this stage in the year, there's just so little material to work with that we don't expect to see anything major. There's a couple minor things that I can point out just as a function of where we are in the year. The interest earnings appear a bit low, but that's because cash flow at this time of year is a bit low before our tax collections come in. And when they do, that'll come up. And we also had some contract service expenses that appear well over what we project for this first month of the year's budget, but that's the timing of payment of last year's encumbrances on some contracted services that the bills came and were paid in January. So everything's trending as expected. So unless you have questions, I don't have anything additional that I think we need to add.
Have any questions for Matt on the treasurer's report? It's kind of precious little information, which is standard, but any questions, feel free.
Just one in regard to the then and now.
Yes.
The January 29th one.
Let me catch
in regard to it's 58 days.
Yeah, let me catch up with you real quick here, and then I'll.
It's Squire Patton Boggs.
Patton and Boggs.
Yes. So that was we had purchase orders to Squire Patton Boggs in the amount of $7,000. They bill us essentially once a year, and we received an invoice from a prior period that was charged against that encumbrance, and I was unaware of that. So we had about $3,000 that went over our. I think the actual invoice was $69.95, and so the $7,000, having some of it been used for a different invoice wasn't sufficient to cover, so we just did an additional invoice to pick up the difference. And it's their billings. They don't bill us monthly like most. We actually receive 1 or 2 invoices per year from them.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, Matt. I know more information to follow as the year comes along, but thanks for the update. And as we move to our resolutions, the first being approval, resolution 921, which is the approval of supplement and an amendment to the 2021 Certificate of Estimated Resources and Appropriations measure has your name on it, so you're not off the hook quite yet.
Right. So just doing some additional appropriations. As you noticed, much of it has to do with the expansion of C-Corps and various funding sources associated with that. So we're making those available for that project. France Stone made a contribution in their grant program for the Glass City Park, and so we're making appropriations available for that. And then the last remaining item there, the Water Resource Restoration Sponsorship Program, that also is for C-Corps, and that's part of the WRRSP funds. And that's allocating the remaining portion of that, which most of that was used for the acquisition of the C-Corps expansion. So it's very much in support of that C-Corps expansion.
Got it. Any questions for Matt on 921?
Matt, the appropriations that are summarized in the board brief that you just discussed, these are all in furtherance of projects that have been formally approved by the board, and this is just to match the funding with what's required to accomplish the projects. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, you've approved these things, and now we are making the funds available for expense.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I move adoption of resolution 921.
Second.
Thanks, Fritz and Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I can read lips, so that's unanimous. Thank you. 1021 is the ratification of the schedule of payables, which were distributed to us electronically last week. Any questions on the payables?
Yeah.
Oh, it looked like Molly, you were gonna ask a question, so. Okay.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, great. Can we get a motion, please?
Move
Move to adopt
adoption of-
resolution 1021.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Lara. With a motion and second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. 1021 is ratified. Thank you. 1121 is the authorization to request funding through Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Alan, sounds like your bailiwick.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Good morning, everyone. This is an opportunity which we've had the pleasure of working with the Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities the last couple of years in support of our Connection Camps programs, specifically the My Mentor and Me component. We've really appreciated the support of Lucas County Board of DD the last couple of years to support that program, especially last year when we had to make some changes to the Connection Camps programs in light of COVID-19 and the restrictions that fell in place with that. They were very accommodating and working with us to make adjustments kind of on the fly as we needed to. So we appreciate the opportunity to request funds from them and look forward to submitting our application.
Alan, would you mind, this is such an incredible program. Would you just mind touching base kind of high level as to kind of the deliverables of this initiative and what it really does? I think it's been at least a couple of years since we've talked in any detail about this with the board, and just as a refresher, kind of sharing some of what this does, because it's such great work.
Alan, I'm sorry, before you answer that question, that's somewhat related to one I was going to ask, and perhaps you can address the two questions in one answer. I was going to ask you to elaborate in the course of deploying the funds in these grants, if you could describe the nature of our ongoing connection with the Developmental Disabilities Board, and just sort of comment in some detail on the nature of our relationship there and our partnership as we develop this programming. I would appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, so initially I'll maybe talk a little bit about the My Mentor and Me program. So obviously we want to make our Connection Camps experience available to anyone in the community who wants to participate. And the My Mentor and Me program specifically gets at participants in the camp program who might have special needs. So this funding helps provide salary support and additional training to our staff to work with those camp participants who might have special needs, and really provide almost kind of a one-on-one mentor experience throughout the entire time in the week-long camp. So depending on what the needs are of that participant, there's conversations with the family about how to make that experience as productive as possible. So our staff, get their required training, and then there's usually a camp counselor who is assigned to that camp participant for the entire week-long experience. So, a number of our staff have gone through these trainings before, but as we need to, bring on new staff to support the overall program, additional staff will go through the training. Jennifer Ellsworth and other programming staff have really been leaders in this space and work a lot with the Lucas County Board of DD to help identify youth who might be interested in the camp experience, to make sure that process, getting them registered and go through the process is as seamless as possible. So that is a lot of our relationship right now with the Lucas County Board of DD, is to help with maybe some of the referrals for individuals who might not be aware of our Connection Camp program already, and to help just kind of that two-way communication to make sure everything's working out as possible. And then we provide a lot of feedback to the Lucas County Board of DD after the summer program is complete, as part of our reporting process, to talk about how the camp experience went for the students, so they can further inform their work that they're doing more broadly. So it's a lot of two-way communication back and forth, just to make sure we're providing that complete inclusive process that we really want to see through the Connection Camps. So the My Mentor and Me is just that component of Connection Camps. And it's really just a lot of ongoing communication with Lucas County Board of DD to make sure we're serving anyone who wants to participate in Connection Camps.
And Alan, I guess my recollection, Dave, thanks for the prompt. This is our ongoing Connection Camp, and then just participation as part of that camp. Is that a fair way to describe it, Alan?
Yeah, the My Mentor and Me is just that additional support that some of the youth who have special needs, it makes sure it addresses those, and so it's just a component of the broader camp experience.
Great. Thanks. Okay. Anything else on 1121?
I move adoption of 1121.
Thanks, Fritz. Thanks, Lyra. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 1121 is adopted. On to 1221, which is an authorization to request funding through the Ohio Department of Natural Resource Division of State Parks and Watercraft. Alan?
So if you remember, this was a new funding opportunity through ODNR last year. And we were thankful to receive funding support for a project at Otsego Road to improve access to the Maumee River there. And that's a project which we'll begin construction on here in the next few months and wrap that up this year. So this is a new request to that same funding opportunity. As evidenced in the title, it's all about enhancing paddling access. And we're going to be putting forward an application as part of Howard Marsh Phase 2. As you're familiar, at Howard Marsh Phase 1, currently there is a concrete boat launch and an ADA accessible floating kayak launch. We want to have those same amenities in the Phase 2 area as well. So we're very confident with the proposal we'll put forward based on our experience in Howard Marsh Phase 1, just to provide those same access opportunities in Phase 2.
Excellent. Any questions for Alan?
Move adoption for resolution 1221.
Second.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Kevin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You opposed? Great. 1221 is adopted. Thanks, Alan. 1321 is an authorization to apply to the Ohio Public Work Commission. This looks like a big one.
Yeah, so another one that we're gracious for the support over multiple years. The Clean Ohio Fund has supported a number of acquisition and improvement projects. And so Metroparks, we are currently working on multiple applications for this round of Clean Ohio, working closely with Tim Sheeter on this. And the amount available for our area is just a little over 1.2 million. So we'll be looking to put forward a number of competitive applications for that funding amount.
Any questions for Alan? I have just one in terms of the state budget. Has this state budget impacted this amount for our area relative to previous years?
The amount has stayed relatively consistent over the last few years, and we were encouraged when conversations regarding the overall budget were underway that this was an element of the budget which received a great deal of support. And statewide, this was a program, the Clean Ohio program, that continues to receive support from Columbus.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alan. Get a motion, please.
Move adoption of resolution 1321.
Second.
Thanks, Molly and Fritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 1321 is adopted. On to 1421, which is an approval request funding from the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. Ellen?
Yeah, so we're really excited about this application. This is a relatively new funding opportunity for us. We did submit an application to the Reeve Foundation last year as a letter of intent. That application was not advanced to the next round. I don't think that's any reflection necessarily on the quality of our project. I think there was just limited funds available. But we are kind of reworking and planning to resubmit an application to the Reeve Foundation specific to a virtual window on wildlife project, which we're really excited about. And like to give full credit to Joe Fosnaw and Matt Killam for really advancing this idea. And we really think that the project is a good fit for this funding opportunity. As you see within the Reeve Foundation, they have a specific grant opportunity related to COVID-19 and social isolation. Fritz eloquently spoke earlier about some of the mental health challenges and other challenges during COVID-19 that we're all kind of dealing with. And we think this idea of a virtual window on wildlife in partnership with the Ability Center, who we're very thankful to partner with on a number of different projects, will really provide an opportunity to expand the great windows on wildlife, which we already have, but by providing kind of a live feed into those that anyone could access through the computer, they could also participate in the Window on Wildlife. And we've had conversations with the Abilities Center already. They have an existing technology lending program. If individuals don't have, an iPad or a computer already available, I think there's nice synergy between our two agencies to make, if the technology is a divide, we could hopefully make the technology available, and then we would come in and hopefully provide that viewing experience for folks who might not be able to get out to the parks, but want to experience what the parks have to offer. So as I said, we're really excited about this, and hopefully can move this forward with the Reeve Foundation.
Excellent. Any questions for Alan?
May I just comment on this, Scott?
Of course.
Alan's sort of calm and understated manner has, it adds greatly to his effectiveness, but it has a couple curious effects. It makes the extraordinary seem routine, which Alan has been doing since he joined us. And particularly in his very calm way of saying how excited he is about this, he very much understates how remarkable this concept is and how exciting it is that he and those he works with have identified this opportunity. This is the kind of exceptionally foresightful, avant-garde approach to serving the community through the really innovative application of technology. So Alan, this is everything you've presented today, as usual, is really integral to what we're trying to accomplish. And your ability to identify and procure grants is an amazingly effective way of leveraging our taxpayer support into really great accomplishments. But not only is the grant application here exciting, but the concept that underlies it is just remarkable. And so thanks to you and everybody who fashioned this idea. This is just about as cool a program as one could imagine. And I'm just thrilled that we even have the possibility of carrying this forward. So to you and your team, Alan, thank you. Really, really well done.
Thank you, Fritz.
Well said, Fritz. Thank you. We get a motion for 1421, please.
Move
To adopt
adoption of
resolution
resolution 14-21.
Second.
They were fighting over that one.
There we go. I know.
I'm going to give it to Lyra.
Good move.
All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you. Thanks for everything, Alan. I'm not going to try to add to what Fritz said, but you have my thanks and that of the entire board. So I appreciate all the great ongoing work. And when will we know on particularly that 1421? Is there a time frame? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know exactly. I would think we would know by the fall at the latest, but I think it's probably going to depend on the number of applications that they get, which always affects kind of the funders' timeline. So I anticipate they'll get a number of requests, so it might take just at least till the fall.
Okay, well, I know you'll keep us posted, so thank you. All right, moving on to 1521, which is a contract approval. There's a wetland restoration at Oak Openings Preserve in the I guess that'd be part of the Canaley property. John, is that correct?
This is at the corner of State Route 64 and Airport Highway.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is the H2O Ohio project, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
This is 100% covered through that grant project. We bid and got really good, tight bids under budget. Feel really strongly. This is the same contractor that built our boardwalk connecting Oaks and Secor.
Okay.
West Winds and Secor.
Got it.
So
Got it.
conscientious, good contractor. We're thrilled to get him on board, and this will probably start later in the summer.
Okay. Any questions for John on 1521?
Move adoption for resolution 15-21.
Second.
Thanks, Molly and Fritz. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. 1521 is unanimously adopted. John, you've got 3 of them here. 1621 is a contract approval for professional surveying services for the Glass City Riverwalk.
So this is a really exhaustive survey project that'll take place over the course of all of 21 and some of 22. And we went with Lee Wendowski Engineers. We solicited letters of interest, got 6 back, weighed through those and landed on the contractor we felt best about. And there's my cat. So yeah, Lee Wendowski Engineers. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's not only to inform design, but it's to get us through all of ODOT's processes with certifications of right of way and that sort of thing. So they'll be busy a good long time with this one.
I think it's safe to speak for the group, John. None of us had you pegged as a cat guy.
I'm on the fence. The girls love him.
There you go. And you do too. Any questions for John? I was just looking with interest at the the scoring, your scoring system, and gosh, this was really tight between the first and second place, if you will.
You never want to tell a consultant that you think one is more qualified than the next. They're all, at the end of the day, they're very all highly qualified. So you have to really get nuanced with what you're looking at. Tim Sheeter had a lot to do with this ranking criteria, and we basically looked at all the aspects that we were looking for out of the surveyor and weighed accordingly. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to be defendable, because we do share this. All the contractors get to see what we were thinking, nothing to hide. And they appreciate it because they send us back emails thanking us, because apparently not many do that. Most people never get back to the contractors, they just award it and move on. But we try to be up and up above board with all this, try to make it defendable, like I say.
So John, I think that commitment to transparency and accountability, and to the extent it's possible, objectivity that you just described, really speaks well for our process. You alluded to the nuances you look at, and having studied the scoring matrix, I think the nuances are far above my head, and I don't understand a quarter of what you all do, but to the extent I was able to discern from the matrix what your focus is and what you're analyzing, I think it's really exemplary. And so I'm happy, although not surprised, to hear that those with whom we work and those who want to work with us feel this is a really reputable and appropriate process. So this is a great way of approaching these kinds of awards. And thank you for being so meticulous and clear and interacting with all of our potential partners in a way that they feel honors them and that they can understand and are comfortable living with, even when they don't end up with the work. So this is terrific, John.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I move adoption of resolution 1621.
Second.
Thanks, Fritz and Lair. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. 1621 is adopted unanimously. Thank you. 1721 is a contract approval at 815 Front Street for the construction manager at risk services. Yet another seemingly exhaustive process, John.
This process is even a little longer than the LOI process. In this one, we ask for qualifications first, and then based on what we get there, then we ask them to respond in a little more detail to a request for proposals. We only had 2 respondents to our RFQ, and it's who we would expect, Mosier and Lathrop. And then when we got the RFPs, we went through those. And I think the matrix for that is attached as well. And we did land on Lathrop again. So Lathrop isn't getting far from Glass City here with this one. But feel very, very strongly that they will deliver on this project just like they have with the rest of Glass City.
Sort of outside of the award process and how we've considered the responses, Alan, would you mind again just kind of hopping back on? Thank you. And just sharing with the board right now, I know that there's still a lot of community-oriented conversations and listening that we will certainly do associated with this, but can you just paint the picture? This is another project that I certainly don't want to gloss over what this contract award actually sets up and what it will accomplish, because this is, of all of the work that we're doing, particularly downtown and the construction of the Glass City Riverwalk, I think this really is has the potential to be one of the most impactful aspects of the whole initiative.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. As you said, we're still working to really define what the building will be, and if we do this right, it really will have had the input of the number of partners that we want to see in the space and the broader community itself. So kind of as we're thinking about it right now, we see the Enrichment Center as kind of being a one-stop location for a range of services to the broader community. This could be employment programs, this could be educational programs, it could be health and wellness type programs. I think as we better define the range of partners who are going to exist in this space, that operational model and how these things the building will function will really kind of crystallize together. So we're really excited to get this process started, with architecture and design, and then eventually construction. And we really think this builds nicely on the work that's happening currently in the Garfield neighborhood, which is going through a master planning process right now, led by the Toledo Design Collective. There's a lot of community conversations happening, a lot of obviously excitement in East Toledo with Glass City Metropark and other sorts of investments. But we really want to make sure, the adjacent neighborhoods are going to, benefit from all this exciting development that's happening. So if the Enrichment Center can serve as a location to provide further resources and also serve as a place for various agencies to come together to collaborate, to better provide efficiency in the delivery of those different services. So if someone comes in and maybe has a question regarding, how do I get a new, roof on my house and I want to stay in there, and there's a partner that's can help direct them to that right program, but in the course of that conversation, other needs come up, maybe a food security issue or a transportation issue. We want that kind of collaborative model to be happening there, and further questions could be answered for someone all in one location. So we're again excited about this project as well, and really excited to get started with these community conversations pretty soon, and really define what the building will look like. But that's kind of our initial thinking. We wanted to put together a basic shell of an idea for the shell of a building that we have right now, and then really let the partners in the community really help us further define what the building will be from the community aspect. We do know a little bit about what we wanted, the rear portion of the building, which abuts the back of Glass City Metropark, to help serve some of our operational needs and some staff that Metroparks might have within the building. But the actual community facing aspects of the building, we really are going to require that feedback from the partners in the broader community.
Excellent. Any questions for Alan or John? Dave, thanks for, I didn't mean to gloss this. This is an incredible project. So thanks for slowing us down here a little bit at a appropriate time.
Can you, I'm sorry, oh, sorry, go ahead.
The light bulb for me here, Scott, went off. You remember the trip that we took to DC when we were really learning about the work that it was mostly there being driven by the National LISC office, and really trying to embrace a term that I think they coined, which was the notion of gentrification in place, which was really preparing neighborhoods for change, helping residents understand potential opportunities that were coming down the pipeline. It was really all of those things as they look to develop kind of new ways to support community development, new ways to provide necessary support relative to really all the new change that's occurring downtown. And this was really kind of our kind of response to that and takeaway from that. You'll recall too, and I think it's certainly appropriate as part of this to offer another thanks to Continental Real Estate, who effectively donated this building to us, in really in keeping with this type of ambition for the community.
I think this has probably been talked about, but just for the good of the order here, can you mentioned transportation barriers. Is there plans? Is there easily accessible public transportation to this building based on how the routes are right now?
Yeah, the way TARDA's current routes are, there are a number of stops along Front Street, and actually as part of the build grant, we have plans for a new Tartar Stop in Glass City Metroparks, so not exactly right there, but I think as we continue conversations, and TARDA is obviously a tremendous community partner in this space and is always looking to figure out ways to make the routes as meeting the needs of the community. And I know they've talked about increasing service in East Toledo as well. So I think as these things continue to advance in further conversations, TARDA will be ready to respond appropriately, and we'll be looking forward to continuing to work with them on this.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Molly. Anything else?
Move adoption of 1721.
Second. Okay, Fritz.
Thanks, Fritz and Lear, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thanks. 1721 is adopted, and John, before you go away, but you already did. I just wanted to just a quick anecdote for the board. I was in my day job yesterday, had some interaction with a local company that provides products to a number of our contractors that have done work for the Park District over the years, and with no prompting other than they knew I was associated with Metroparks, the praise that your ears had to be burning, because the praise they heaped on you and your team and those you work with at Metroparks was just nothing but positive and really spoke specifically to your integrity as just your integrity as a human being. And so I wanted to publicly embarrass you and pass that along, because truly it was unprompted and confirmed by the fact today that you're a cat owner. So so thank you for everything you're doing. It does not go unnoticed by the board.
Thank you very much.
Let's see, we're getting there. 1821 is approval of a land purchase on Summit Street. And Tim, good to see you this morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing, Scott?
Excellent. I'm really excited about this acquisition. So do you want to summarize this a bit for us?
Sure. Yeah. So it's really hard to overstate the importance of this property relative to our vision for the Glass City Riverwalk. It's suffice it to say that the Riverwalk simply could not happen without the acquisition of this property. There's 1,800 feet of frontage along the Maumee River. This is really the last large piece of property adjacent to the river within our planning area that needs to be secured in order for that to happen. So, in keeping with our plans for Glass City, that the extension of that work will involve naturalizing the river frontage here. It will be, providing opportunities for people to connect to the downtown area from Glass City through multi-purpose trails. And of course, we'll continue to enhance economic development opportunities in the greater downtown area. So I'll be happy to answer any questions related to the transactional nature of this. Really want to acknowledge our partners for this project, this acquisition project, Connect Toledo and the Lucas County Land Bank. Again, this simply could not have happened without their involvement. So really worth acknowledging them.
Dave, do you want to comment on this maybe a little bit? This, particularly the help we got, just classic, Metropark, just excellence in partnership and working together with other agencies to make something really great happen.
Yeah, I mean, to Tim's point, this really took a small consortium to really make sure that this property would be protected forever and able to set up the Glass City Riverwalk. We, as you know, started contemplating the Riverwalk as an idea 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and starting to kind of test that thinking and the community's acceptance of that vision and what it could really do to repurpose our region and downtown. And as those thoughts really started to coalesce, it became clear that this property, to Tim's point, was in many ways the single most important acquisition that was necessary to be able to fulfill effectively 5 miles of public riverfront that would be accessible with unique experiences embedded all along. And at the time that this property was actually on the open market, there was other discussions and interest in it. And as you know, that was before the community overwhelmingly voted to support this vision through the levy that was passed. So prior to that, of course, our agency just simply did not have the financial resources to embark in this transaction, which thankfully our partners of the Land Bank and Connect Toledo and even the Port Authority were instrumental in coming together, securing this project really on nothing more than the handshake commitment that we would be pursuing this after the community supported the idea. And so it also, to me, not only marks really our first tangible response to the community's vote, but it also demonstrates the commitment really over the last couple of years of the partners that we had and their understanding of the significance of this project, that they were willing to acquire a piece of property even in advance of the community weighing in and supporting the levy. So I think that was also certainly a bold move and a testament in a different way, a testament to the commitment broadly that this project continues to see.
Well said. Thanks, Tim, and thanks for all the great work on this. And the address is 0 Water Street, correct? That seems like a keeper.
Well, there's two different parcels, so the address that's probably easier to use is the 1456 Summit Street.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, any other questions for Tim on 1821?
Move adoption of 18-21.
Second.
Thanks, Lyra. Thanks, Molly. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. The 1821 is unanimously approved. Great work, everybody. Thanks, Tim. You continue to make this stuff look easy, and I know it's not. So I appreciate all the effort and work just throughout the entire agency to pull this off and make this promise that we made to the community just last fall, just to let the community know we're acting in an expedited manner to make that a reality. So this is really exciting. And finally, we're on to 1921, which is an approval of the updated strategic plan. Our last 3-year planning process came to an end, and so there has been a process in place to support the vision that we just adopted with strategies and tactics behind that vision. So Dave, are you going to speak to this, or Carrie? Or Carrie, there you are. Hi. Good morning.
Morning.
I was looking at my papers, not my screen. Good to see you. You've been the leader here, so I'm glad you're here to lead us through the conversation today.
Well, much as Fritz said, I've been the listener and the scribe more than anything. So at the last board meeting, we gave an update on the process we undertook since November to update the strategic plan and the vision. And today we're ready to present to you the result of the culmination of that work. So at the last board meeting, you approved for us our 7 strategic priorities. Since then, senior staff has been meeting in small groups to develop the work streams, the desired outcomes, and the action items to bring those strategic priorities to life. We incorporated feedback from our staff. We did a staff survey and did a cross-reference of everything we heard to make sure that our staff's opinions were represented in the next 3-year strategic plan. And once we have your approval and support on the draft, we'll be rolling it out to staff, developing 1-year action plans and taking it down to goal setting for every individual. So with the workshop on Monday, a couple of the things we talked about were, is it aspirational enough? Does it support the vision? Is anything missing? So we truly appreciate all of the board's input as well in helping us make sure that we're moving in the right direction to get towards accomplishing the vision, which, as Fritz said, will most certainly take us more than 3 years, but we hope that this is a number of steps in the right direction.
Great. Any questions for Carrie or comments anybody would like to make about the process and where we are?
If I may, as I expressed during our workshop on Monday, Carrie has done, not surprisingly, but gratifyingly, a terrific job of balancing inclusiveness and real drive, and being very aspirational, but being concrete enough so that we can hold ourselves accountable. I believe that everybody who has participated in the vision process and the strategic planning process feels that those things align and understands that with the vision at the top of the organizational hierarchy, the strategic plan's function is to give life, functionality, concreteness, measurability, and specificity to particular aspects that are salient at that time that we're going to pursue in furtherance of our aspirations. So since I'm familiar with what everybody said to shape the vision, and I'm familiar because of the detail that Carrie and others have provided to the board as we've gone through the strategic planning process, I think I speak for everybody on the board that this is a tremendous tremendous iteration and functional specification of what we will do in the short term and the medium term to make sure that we're all in pursuit across our organization, internally, and also in all of our outer dealings in pursuit of the aspirations we've set. Carrie, your process has been impeccable. It has mirrored our sense of inclusiveness and collaboration. So terrific work as you stand on the shoulders of all the people you've worked with. You've served the agency and therefore our community very well. I am really enthusiastic about the quality, depth, and detail of the strategic plan. And I'm thrilled to have the chance to approve it and watch as you and others implement it and begin the process of pursuing it.
Fritz, thank you so much for your kind words. It really was a collaborative effort and the great ideas of our entire team and board. So thank you. I chose to not to get into the details of how we got here because we went into that detail at the last board meeting, but I certainly welcome any questions about our process or how we got here today, or next steps if that would be helpful to the board.
Absent any questions, the next steps would be helpful for me to hear, Carrie.
Sure, of course, Scott. So we will be introducing this to the entire agency later this week. And after that will come a senior staff, one more planning meeting among senior staff to make sure that we've got the rollout clear. Dave and I and Scott have been working on that this week. The rollout will start with the managers to make sure that we're clear on how their one-year plans can support the broader strategic plan. And from there, we'll do several meetings, including Lori Miller, our manager of staffing and development, to work out individual goals for every staff member in the agency who chooses to participate in contributing to our broader strategic plan. So again, kind of a broad rollout, working with senior staff to identify what the first year should look like, working with the managers to understand how we divide and conquer that work, and working with each of our staff to give them development opportunities and help us achieve this. It's a lot of work and we're going to need everybody's help, but we feel really strongly that we'll get there.
Excellent. And that process, I mentioned this in the workshop, that my hope is that as part of this, internal reflection in the vision statement, my hope is that everybody in the agency will feel like they have the support and the resources necessary to do the work that that flows out of this planning process. So and I know that so I'm confident and hopeful that that's part of the implementation, and I trust it will be. So thanks for a terrific job, Carrie.
Thanks to all of you. Appreciate the work.
I move adoption of Resolution 1921.
Second.
Thanks, Fritz and Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 1921 is adopted, so we have a plan. Oh, great.
We'll get to work, like Fritz said.
That was my line.
Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I guess just for the record, Scott, we do have an executive session today, and I guess I just want to set the stage because it's a little bit, the transition into executive session, I think, is a little bit awkward and clunky in a digital format. So practically what we'll be doing here is exiting the public session of the meeting, and at that time we'll be concluding the live stream. We do not expect any action to be taken. The reason for the executive session is for the discussion of a land acquisition item. We will not be going back on live stream at the conclusion of the executive session, so we'll just be ending the public portion of the meeting at that time.
Okay, all right, and before we do that, because we'll need a roll call, Jill, I see you're way ahead of me, ready to do that. Before we do that, this just dawned on me as Carrie was finishing her remarks. I really want to thank Molly and Kevin. Lyra and Fritz and I, have worked together and have been together on this board for a long time, and it takes it has taken a couple of really special people, Kevin and Molly, to join a group that's kind of been in place for a long time and then be, very instrumental in embracing the agency and learning and really becoming part of a cohesive unit, which I really feel we are. And I don't take any credit for that. I give credit to you and Kevin, Molly, for working with us and really becoming a cohesive group. So I just wanted to just thank you both for all the work that it's taken to get to where we are as a 5-member commission. So thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. Me and Kevin are very special. So thank you. No, I'm kidding. No, truly. I think we both joined the board very humbly and very excited to learn. And, this organization is doing amazing work. It's, at least for me, it's very fun to be a part of it. So I appreciate you accepting us the way that you have so much. Thank you.
Thanks for the comments. And based off of Molly's preliminary response, I'm assuming she's the youngest of all the siblings in her family.
That's correct.
But I agree. Stepping onto the board was somewhat an anxious thing for me to do, because I know you guys have been so coherent, cohesive together, working throughout the years. And, I felt like I wanted to kind of absorb everything for that first year or so and take things in. And I really feel like you guys have embraced our newness to the board, have been patient with us, learning the ins and outs of how things operate, and have really made me feel like I can, participate and engage and move this organization forward. So thank you.
Good. No, thanks. I'm glad to hear that. So good. Okay, so now, we're gonna go into executive session, as Dave mentioned, for the purpose of land acquisition. And again, we expect no action. And so we'll have Jill have the roll call, and then we will end the live stream and go into executive session.
Okay, Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Ms. Lukey?
Yes.
Mr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Byers?
Yes.
Mr. Savage?
Yes. Thanks, Jill.
Yep.